BR6. Actually, no, did they win BR6? They played against FaZe Clan. I didn't actually watch the
there was one of the teams lost because of a
picked Maverick or Warden or something.
That might have been Liquid that lost. I'm trying to remember now.
I think FaZe Clan did. I think it was Cameraman who picked
one of them did. Yeah. It was unfortunate.
I can't remember. I think FaZe Clan won it. I don't think Liquid won it. I don't know.
Someone won.
I don't remember.
Pretty sure.
The only issue that I have is that sometimes it's tough to digest Latin America content because it's.
There's so much. I mean, they have the whole separate thing going on with BR6 as well, and as much as I'd like to carry that stuff over here, a lot of times the results are so different from what we see in Pro League. It's very strange. But we will see Clubhouse, so that'll be fun because where did Liquid lose to Ints? Clubhouse. So obviously, Black Dragons were watching. They go, a few tips we could get from Ints there. Let's try them against Liquid.
Black Dragons are no Ints, though, let's be honest.
Well, if they picked up a good enough tips and Liquid didn't shore those holes, it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
You never know.
Who do you think is going to win the community?
I think I know where this is going to go.
I think we always know when Liquid is present.
Remember when Black Dragons, just off the name alone, was just taking the lion's share for a while there?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was a period of time where Black Dragons was an institution, back when, Font Energy and BRK in. Black Dragons was an institution. They had the old NIP roster as well. They made it to the finals in Sao Paulo.
Actually, a lot of these guys were on Black Dragons at one point as well. Some of these guys, at least.
It's true. That's
one of the Black Dragons teams.
Yeah. Moringa was on Black Dragons, wasn't it?
So was
Pretty sure.
I believe Sex Cake before they became Liquid, but I'm not entirely sure. It might have been after they became Liquid.
No, Sex Cake was on. He was on, I think, Encore or Merciless, and then he was on Nox or something like that.
There's been so many shuffles around Latin America.
If you go back and you actually look at the old organizations in Latin America from, I want to say like season 4, season 5, season 6, there was like Nox.
Yeah.
There was like, Merciless Gaming. Encore. There were so many.
Gaming.
So many
stuff.
Gaming actually has.
It was a little bit later, but
PX, former member of MIBR, is on Gaming.
PX, good player.
Not good enough to stay on the roster though.
No, but hey.
They dropped him. They picked up Hugzord, and they've looked better since. Honestly,
he's actually been playing very well for the team, so I think that was a good choice.
He's been I don't want to call him the glue because I don't think the team necessarily needed glue, but I will say that he has done something to the team that PX was clearly incapable of doing, or maybe the rest of the team just made some changes afterwards.
You never know. It could even just be chemistry.
Could be chemistry.
Either way, it's working. So that's all that matters, right? Is if it's working, roster change in the middle of the season then. Just like everyone else does.
I mean, Black Dragons overhauled their roster entirely.
Yeah.
Right? Hornetau played in the relegations last season. They had Moringa on the squad for a while. They pick up Wog, who was sitting on the bench for ages. And when I say sitting on the bench, I mean like warming the bench, rather. He wasn't playing in Pro League for quite a long period of time. Like, this team is completely new, essentially. And I think they have a lot of promise. But, I mean,
it may take them time to work that out as well. So we may not see them really show up till the second half of the season.
They have an opportunity to play spoiler against one of the best teams in Latin America. And we'll waste no time. We'll get into our very first matchup of the day. Black Dragons versus Team Liquid. The Dragon versus the Horse. I mean, in a real fight, the Dragon will win, let's be honest.
Well, it depends on how big the Dragon is. If it's like Eddie Murphy Dragon, maybe not.
It's like a big gecko.
Yeah, basically.
It's like it's not a real dragon,
Oh, the real dragons, yes, as opposed to those ones.
It's a Team Liquid starting on defense, so they get the very first ban. And say goodbye to Capitao.
See ya. That's going to make Casual a little bit easier. Definitely something you don't want to deal with. Maverick, no surprise to see him go as well. In fact, I feel like we haven't seen a ton of Maverick play sometimes on Clubhouse just because, well, either he's banned or they're able to get other ways to get that wall open with Thermite.
I'm just glad that there's no Thatcher ban.
Yeah, it's starting to bleed over at other regions now.
I think
it's kind of killing me.
I mean, I think that Latin America, because they play so aggressively, they can ban Thatcher because they know they're going to take fights. I mean, look at Liquid's matchup last week on Play Day number 3. They banned Thatcher. There's a Thatcher ban on Villa.
You also have to keep in mind they reinforce less than other regions. So there's a lot less walls you need to get rid of.
Well, generally. I mean, and I think there's a strategy to that, right? It's totally acceptable for you to pocket some of those reinforcements.
Well, it's aggressive defense elsewhere.
Yeah, you open up lines of sight and walls where people might not understand at a high level, why don't you reinforce certain walls? Like, you've got an exterior wall that literally is the sight to the outside. Why do you not reinforce it? Well, because sometimes the attackers aren't so willing to challenge that engagement if they know that they could get shot from the defense.
Sometimes it's just about making the other guy uncomfortable. At the end of the day. Goyo, always fun to see. I know I get a bit on a Goyo kick, but I think it is interesting to see the variety of uses of him in terms of, like, are we setting up shields? Are we setting up area denial? Are we just throwing something to burn their resources?
Yeah.
Plus his gun, quite effective.
I don't think Liquid's lineup really gave anything away in terms of their defenses.
No, we've seen a lot of Goyo played, for example, down in Church.
I was going to say, I feel like Church, though, is his least most effective site on this.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of it working, but I've seen it on Church, I've seen it on Jim.
Jim Bedroom is that is his wheelhouse.
Throw shields everywhere.
Yes, because
it's a room full of them.
Jim and Bedroom tends to be the most claustrophobic of all of the sites. You see here from above that with Cache and CCTV being the leftward bomb site in B, Cache is obviously A bomb site on the right-hand side, is that you've got the garage as your playground. There's a lot of vertical play as well. The entire floor down in Lounge is much easier to hold.
This gauntlet.
Yeah, that's they call this the hurdles race.
Yeah, it looks like it. Gonna have to run a 3-speed through that.
Yes. Such is how it works. But so we'll get underway with round number 1, and with Team Liquid, they've got their denial as they need it. They've got some utility to burn through for the attackers. Good thing there's a Sledge and a Zofia on the board because you're going to need them for the Goyo shields and you're going to need them for the Maestro cams.
Goyo spotted. The unfortunate thing, I think, is that Evil Eye's on the opposite side of the shields. Had it been on the other side, you could pop the shields with it, but obviously that's not a great place for the Evil Eye in general, so I understand the thinking there, but it would be fun to pop those remote.
Yes.
We'll see. Maestro actually just now getting back the site after starting to deny a little bit of flank there by putting up a wooden barricade on the bedroom door because, well, you want to hear them coming. They are eventually going to get into connector likely at some point if they don't go the garage route. Here's the denial from the Zofia trying to stop the animation, but PSK on top of it. You've got to time that perfectly. You need to practice that and just really coordinate it well because if you get it wrong, you're wasting 3 sets of utility potentially and losing your ability to open the wall that time. So, not great. We'll see 1 EMP left here. PSK going to try and deny this. If it's successfully denied, they're really just going to have to push from that bedroom side.
I'm kind of surprised that Hornetow is in the position he's in. We have seen success from Zofias in the past where they will go down below and they will just simply shoot out the floor.
It's kind of the easier way.
It's much easier unless you are worried about somebody playing in a position down in Lounge, as we saw Nesk doing.
Yeah.
Preparing for the ACOG removal on the Alda, Sexy Cake will run the red dot site and his engagement with Live will not go anywhere. Live should be able to win this one. Sexy Cake, that is not ideal. So first kill is going to go to Black Dragon.
He has the ability to do a lot of pre-firing there, and he theoretically should have heard the hop in the window. It's just unfortunate he wasn't able to pull it off.
Could have been calls, and that's the other thing that people need to keep in mind of is that there's usually communication that's happening. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's much harder for a team to take Lounge than it is for them to take Bar, and that's because in Lounge, you've only really got 2 ways to watch. Number 1, if somebody comes through blue, you're going to hear them. If they come through the main doorways where Nesk was just looking, you're going to hear them. And on top of that, all of that garage wall has been shot open. PZD goes by Moringa. Moringa lets him continue to move on. 40 seconds left, and PZD takes some damage, but Liquid is looking a little worse for wear. Shotgun pointed at the breach hole. Moringa could have done some damage, but he falls off, and Live will win that fight. A second kill for Black Dragons. 30 seconds to go, and you hear the Vector come alive. Down goes Live. Not living up to his namesake. Lagonis frags on Nesk. That could be a pick from below as the plant looks to go out. There's C4 in the hands for PSK, but he's got to watch the breach to his left. He doesn't have a ton of HP. Paulo will take one down with them, and PSK grabs a kill that is absolutely necessary. Diffuser goes down successfully for Black Dragons, but PSK's only got a fraction of his HP, and 2 members of BD to go up against.
He's got C4 here. There it goes. Perfect play. Now he can potentially counter this.
Did Lagonis not hear that? That's what I want to know.
We're seeing a lot of delayed reactions from players. Maybe they're still just warming up.
Who knows? Going for the long arm now is PSK. PZ needs to wait. He can hear it. You got to go.
There we go.
Bye-bye, PSK. Black Dragons take round number 1.
I would say convincingly, but that did get a little close towards the end there. Was I mean, a lot of early kills and pressure that just wasn't pushed back very effectively. You saw, for example, Moringa see the Sledge, walk past the door, didn't take his shots. Instead, repeaked it, took a little bit of damage, and then just decided to throw a smoke. And I feel like, again, we're seeing a lot of delayed reactions to stuff. It could be also, there could be some hiccups, but I'm not seeing an indicator that makes me think, it could be a server-side thing. It's more just likely they're still warming up. We should see the gunfire speed up a bit here throughout the rounds, but that did cost them a round for Liquid. Is just maybe just not being as quick on the trigger. You saw also the Maestro being a little slow on that, Live getting that nice shot. So hopefully Liquid gonna wake up a little bit this round here. They're gonna try Church now. Relatively the same lineup, but for a different bomb site. As you said, they didn't give anything away with the lineup before, and they certainly are changing bomb sites without having to change that up. Black Dragon's also not having to change anything, It's always nice when you have a flexible enough lineup that you could just switch bomb sites without having to go, oh, we need to have you switch to this and you to that. Oh, switch your secondaries here. And that's not fun, especially when you're trying to do that while deciding, do I use a 6-pick? So we will see the usual reinforcements in setup go here in terms of get the walls that you need, church, dirt, things like that. But it looks like they're just setting up above. Okay. They're going to get the one panel there that Sexy Kate got on the Arsenal wall. It is not necessarily mandatory as much as Milos likes to make it sound, but it is very useful if you don't want them rushing into sight and you're not planning to play over there and use that against them. So that will definitely help. But is Nesk actually going to be roaming here with the Vector? Now, we usually see most players with the TCSG. So he's actually going to be running the Vector and possibly roaming with it. He is at least a 2-speed unlike Mira, so can take advantage of that a little bit on roam. We often see a lot more roaming Goyos than you'd expect sometimes, I think, but I often see them die fairly early, and I'm surprised because I feel like he should be more of an effective roamer than we tend to see. And I'm not sure if it's just the speed or it's just players just maybe getting a little cocky that their setup's done and think they could take engagements that they don't win.
Kix and I will disagree on this till the end of time, but okay. I think it's his loadout, frankly. I mean, the TCSG nor the Vector, they're not particularly strong guns, especially the Vector. It's a body shot machine. I mean, fine, if you hit a headshot, great, but, Miras are not notorious for winning multiple engagements.
No, and they tend to win by being able to peek that window, right?
Yeah, and the TCSG is a gun that, it hits you like a truck, but it's notoriously unreliable.
I feel like it's really good when you have angle advantage. When you have an angle on them, that whether it's a toe or whatever, that they don't necessarily get a chance to see you first, it works great. But you're right, in a one-on-one, it can lose a lot of fights.
Yeah. I don't feel like he's got the kit that's needed. And I mean, sure, the Mira can be good, or Mira's gun, the Vector, can be good and in close quarter engagements towards the end, but you're not going to roam with it because if you're taking those long range fights, the fire rate is...
Yeah. You're going to burn through your ammo very quickly as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have a very large magazine, only 26 bullets. That rivals the F2, and they both have similar rates of fire. So obviously the F2, though, a significantly better gun. There's going to be a stare down at the top of blue as we circle now in towards what has been a slow and easy pace for Black Dragons.
That's church for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got some time to kill. You got to open up the kitchen, apply some pressure, maybe try to get one of the hatches. PZD takes some damage, and that's been all she wrote so far. Sounds like some heart breach denial from an impact that goes off, and 2 kills from Liquid, as they will start things off strong in this round. You lose your heart breacher as well as your sledge, and now you lose your Thatcher. Ibana's left upstairs, gets it down, but Live is unable to secure a second kill. He's going to go toe-to-toe with Nesk, and not a lot of people are able to walk away with that, with their head still intact. He's 25 HP, not exactly where he wants to be, and not exactly where Black Dragons want to be now in the final 40 seconds.
This is definitely scary for Live here to try and do this. He's still just trying to open the hatch at this point. Such low health. Hornetown needs to back him up if they're going to make any kind of play here, but they're separated at the moment, just hoping for the right timing. With 4 to 5 at full health nearly, except for Moringa, it'll be hard.
Oh my, this
is not nice.
This is almost offensive. That's offensive, Palu. Don't do that. Live is dead. Liquid in a 1v4, or Black Dragons rather in the 1v4. 1 kill for Hornetown. Beautiful shot onto Nesk, but 2 more kills from Liquid elude him. Over towards the Moto doorway. He's got very little time. Doesn't hold that diffuser, so frags are on the menu. Will even find 1. No, he won't. He'll get shut down by Liquid. They'll answer back, and both teams will sit at 1 point.
Unfortunately for him, Live died upstairs with the diffuser when he was already down. There was no way out of that except to fight. The big standout thing for me that round was 3 people in Arsenal just gunning the floor. Like, you see occasionally 1 try an impact trick, maybe 2 if someone's trying to back him up, but 3 people aggressively looking up with bullets ready to fly. That is unusual, and it worked very well against Black Dragons. That floor just became like, you know the scenes in movies where they're shooting at their feet and making them dance?
Yes.
That was that for Black Dragons right there.
That's quite the throwback. It's gonna. It definitely dates us.
Yeah.
It definitely dates us.
This is the boomer duo.
I'm almost 30, and you are in your 30s, and we are.
Yeah, heading towards that 40. Unfortunately,
we are far and away the oldest casters.
The elders.
Zoronic is the same age as me, though, so he's a 1990 as well.
He's been growing that beard his entire life, I think.
Yeah, he was born with it.
It makes a lot of sense.
I wonder if a picture of him without a beard exists. Actually, I'm sure it probably has. He streams an awful lot. I'm sure.
I feel like I saw one once, and I was like, "Who's that guy?"
Well, Kix actually showed me a picture of him with short hair.
That's shocking. I mean, I guess when he puts it up,
I think he looked pretty good, to be completely honest. I mean, I would say that his current haircut is...
It's like he has a beard for the back of his head.
Like iconic.
Yeah.
But
5 seconds to insertion.
infamous, I guess you could say, his ponytail slash bun slash long hair.
Unfortunately, outside of the shaved head, we look too similar, I think. It's a good thing you shaved it.
I crossed eyes when I was watching you and Kickscast last night. And I was like, why does Emzo look more like me than I do, Rick?
Correct. Because I didn't make a bet, I couldn't win.
Yeah, why does Emzo look more like Intero than Intero does?
Scary.
So,
I just need to dye it red.
It's growing back though pretty quick.
Yeah, it's surprising.
It's only been like 20 some odd days. So
that's crazy.
But it's going to be yet another cash CCTV defense for Team Liquid after things fell apart in their matchup against Black Dragons in round number 1. BD managed to get the diffuser down, win objective, won the very first kill. They were a very dominant performance, and even though there was almost a clutch from Team Liquid in a 1v1, ultimately, they ran out of time.
I feel like Liquid could win at this time, though, being a little quicker on the draw.
I mean, they've made a couple changes. First and foremost, they have Nesk playing closer inside of sight. He's not going to be down in lounge. And secondly, Sexy Cake is not going to be sitting, essentially just like cordoned off.
He's going to take a bit of damage, though, apparently.
Inside of construction. So Sexy Cake is not just going to get jumped through a window and killed.
They are dealing with drones they're not completely paying attention to, but what does that tell you? Oh, there's PSK bandit tricking. You kind of knew that from last time. Not a surprise here. Will they coordinate it better? It looks like they might be, but he's going to try and fail, unfortunately. He doesn't take a ton of damage. That's the important thing. And he has a shield to fall back on here to try and fight that wall. But that is going to give Black Dragons a little bit more time. It took them a little longer, I think, the last time around. They did manage to win it in the end. Will they find the free kills in Connector this time? Live looking and not going to find any. So now he's got to get this wall open. Flashbang is going to do some stunning first while his teammates set up.
That's not good.
No.
You don't want to be able to do that.
The top of the wall, as with mini holes, does work both ways. You can use it to throw things at them, but they can do it to you. That's why you bring a Jaeger.
It gets opened up so you can impact trick it. And Live probably won't lose all that much here. First kill is going to go to Nesk. He takes down Hornetau. Goodbye to the Zofia. An impact goes off, and it will get the top row of X-Kairos, but not the bottom. So essentially what you need is to be able to prevent any entrance. This Sexy Cake tossing one of those impacts down and then gets a kill onto Live. Lagonis trades off Moringa. PSK is there, and it's a 4v2 now with Liquid very firmly in the driver's seat. 2 for Black Dragons, 45 seconds left. And, well, Black Dragons are split up. They're on opposite sides of the island. BZD, you gotta be somebody who's played the game as long as him to know that's possible. He picks away at the feet of Sexy Cake. You say goodbye to him. It's now a 2v3. It's still winnable. Diffuser in the hands of Wog, but he's going to have to get into the site and plant it, which means it will become a 1v3 with Evil Eyes still up, but because Sexy Cake is dead, Maestro's not going to be able to do too much with it. PZD into the Lion's Den. There goes a C4. It'll catch him. And to the rescue comes Wog. 1v3. He's got the diffuser in his hand. It'll be a mercy killing. 2 in a row for Team Liquid as Nesk gets the very final frag.
Unfortunately for Black Dragons, that felt like when they opened that can of worms that was Cash Room, that actually worked against them a lot. A lot of the angle play just really working out, with the exception of shooting the feet. The Maestro, that was definitely favorable engagement. But a lot of them were either trades or favorable to Team Liquid in their engagements just pressing in. And that is a problem, of course. When you open those walls up, you want it turned into a shooting gallery, not bullets coming back out at you. So it's been interesting to see the fight back from Team Liquid. I was talking earlier about how aggressive defense can be in Latin America, and sometimes that doesn't even mean movement. It really can just mean you open a wall and all of a sudden bullets are coming back out at you. You really need more advantageous angles. They really didn't have a lot of multi-dimensional pressure that was working in their favor in terms of, yeah, we're boxing them in now. It was more just like they're dodging and weaving, trying to put some pressure on. And maybe they needed a bit more utility to work with, possibly to try and put more pressure on them. And they did seem to clear out some ADSs, had the possibility to land some nades. It just didn't seem to be happening. I mean, that's where the Captel, of course, would have, been helpful, but that's why you see him banned, is because Cash Room can become a lot more doable on attack if you have the ability to burn it out or smoke it out. In that case, they were not able to do either.
And it's Liquid who banned Capitao, so clearly they know that they can play off-site. They can play in places where those firebolts would usually chase you away. A good example of that is Garage, but it's funny that Liquid is actually negated to really defend Garage.
No, they put up the hurdles and they're like, yeah, not coming here.
The very first time they had that, that track meet inside a Garage with the Goyo shields and a Maestro cam, and then it was completely avoided by Black Dragons, and credit to BD for evading that setup.
And they won that round.
And they won that round. But the second time you had the Bandit of PSK, he had moved after the wall was lost. He had moved over towards Garage, assisted with an Evil Eye cam, and you can play freely in there without worry of a firebolt.
They made good use of the shields as well, having all those extra shields. This is actually the first round they're not playing Goyo.
Which is on Jim Master, which is
ironic, yeah.
This is usually the site where you see the most.
I'll be honest, though, I don't necessarily see it work all that well either, just because a lot of times there's so many angles to fight. And I know that's why you're bringing the shields, but they don't always work in your favor. And because you peek and then you get shot, sometimes it just happens.
Well, you also bring them because you think about it. A castle is almost always a requirement for most teams.
Yeah, you burn up all that utility.
You can bring a Mira if she's unbanned or a Maestro, and then you have a Goyo as well. That's so much that you have to get through, and even then you're not maybe going to have enough utility for.
And you need the sledge then just to make sure at least you get one of the windows for free or breach charges on Zofia.
Or you have somebody who, you know, if you're bringing, a Thatcher, then maybe have breaches instead of a Claymore if you're bringing like a Nomad or a
That's why I feel like a lot of the trades, whether you bring a Claymore or not, we've seen, on IQ and Zofia and Thatcher.
That was extremely well played by Black Dragons. We got to see all of it, so they burned off the 2 batteries with an EMP, and then the double stuns from Zofia prevented Nesk from being able to bandit trick. So those castle barricades and the shield, everything that was set up to assist him, all for naught. It's a very common way in order to get that wall open.
As you said, though,
it's nice to see how well it was done by Black Dragon.
It's about burning utility at the end of the day. You know you're going to lose it sooner or later, but you always hope they'll goof it.
They did not done goofed.
No goofing.
You done goofed.
No.
You look at the lineup, though, from Black Dragons. They've likely got 2 Claymores in hand, and Lagonis as well as Wog. Hornetow might have one as well. It really depends. So there's a run-out that could happen, but do you want to take that chance?
Timing here has got to be right. Lagonis needs backup. Thatcher setting it up for him. There's no one playing in bathroom, so he's not likely to be fired upon immediately, but they got to keep control of Jim in the meantime. And Nesk roaming here could be a problem late round with that C4.
Nesk could even be spotted if they just barnstorm on in. Then you can see Black Dragons have control of Jim. They'll be able to look on down and see the bandit playing underneath the hatch. You're not exactly concealed. First kill is going to go to Liquid yet again. 3 rounds in a row. And the ceremonial smash of the castle barricade, and PZD just decides, why not? I'm going to take this site for my own. Down goes Moringa, and you're back at a 4v4. Another kill for Black Dragons on the board, this time in the hands of Hornetow, as Nesk from below will not be effective with that C4, as you mentioned. Final 30 seconds, and the drums of war being sounded by Black Dragons. Down goes Sexy Cake. He'll drop onto the first floor. Diffuser from Lagonis, successful. There's nobody from Liquid inside of the site. This will be a tough retake, but Sexy Cake plays that perfectly. Palu gets blown up by a frag grenade, tossed beautifully from PZD. He and Wog sitting nestled inside of the bathroom. Sexy Cake is still down below with PSK above. Finds one on the Hornetow. Winnable, 2v2, Diffuser down. This could possibly happen for PSK, but no, he misses his shots onto Wog. And now Sexy Cake might be blind for info as well. Here's one L85, and he's got the UMP in hand. Those don't win those heads-up gunfights. No way, no chance, not against an SMG-11. Black Dragons will equalize 2-2.
Only way you win that is if you're Fox, apparently. And he wasn't running the extended barrel red dot, so he had the wrong setup for that.
Yes.
But good attack overall. Team Liquid just didn't have a lot to push back against. It was kind of the polar opposite of what we saw from the Cash attack, where it seemed it just pushed Liquid further and further back. You even had players like Sexy Cake rotating down, thinking that was the smart play, and it kind of was in that he was able to catch one, but then he had to rotate back upstairs, and you saw both players forced through the same choke point. You had the Kayed as well forced to come from those main stairs area, and because of that, there's limited ways to approach a lot of those somewhat 90-degree angles. You saw the bathroom play, for example, through the hole. Unable to win that fight. The TCSG, as you said, difficult sometimes to wield in one-on-ones because the fire rate is low. If you cannot hit a couple of shots rapidly, you're not going to win that fight. You may do a bit of damage before you die, but you're not going to win it. And absolutely just the last 2 players of Black Dragon really staying on top of their game there, making sure they had the angles that they needed. Diffuser was planted with a decent amount of time left and their players in the right positions. It was a difficult retake for Liquid. The fact that they pushed themselves off site really didn't work out. They really needed a bit more they could do to slow down. As you mentioned, getting that wall open a hot tub earlier and more effectively, that also gave extra time. Black Dragons was not desperate for that push, therefore didn't have to throw bodies into that push.
Now, Black Dragons are very confident, and I know that Liquid is a team that is very good at being able to retake. They've set up strategies in the past that have worked exceptionally well at being able to conquer a site that it looks like they've lost control over. However, Jim and Master is a tough site to retake, especially with the way that Claymores and anti-flank operators play. You're going to have to jump out of a window, and there's a 50-50 chance there's going to be a Claymore under it. And if there's not a Claymore under it, there might be a Gridlock or a Nomad in play, depending on what teams are going to run for utility. It really depends. Really tough spot to be in for Liquid in order to go for a retake. I don't know if it was deliberate or not, or if it just simply came down to the fact that they unsuccessfully held that first wall and then really couldn't do much and said, you know what, we'll concede the wall. Let's see if they can get through the utility quickly. The Black Dragons has been running a sledge every round. Like, if you're running a castle, That's just fodder for his sledgehammer.
Yeah, I mean, the only one he can't really get is the gym doorway.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And he might even get that once they get inside if they're able to work around that.
Yeah.
So, either way, though, worked out very well for Black Dragons last round. So we 2-2. Both teams seeming to find weaknesses in the other, rotating around bomb sites, trying to make things work. We've seen Cash work for Black Dragons. We've seen it work for Liquid. Church, we've seen work out for Liquid. Will be different this time for Black Dragons. Now they've opened up dirt, and Sexy Cake is ready for it. He's sitting there with the Alda. Doesn't have anything to necessarily delay. I don't see any barbed wire. They don't have goo mines or anything like that. Surprisingly, not even a Goyo shield, something he could use to slow them down, force them to vault, as there are quite a few choke points they cannot get around without either destroying or vaulting the shield. But either way, they do reconsider that push. Might see it late round, possibly. See a lot of rotation on who's carrying Diffuser as well. Hopefully Live won't die with it upstairs this time. They are a little concerned about the pushback on the floor that they dealt with last time on Arsenal. So they're going to play a little smarter from a little more distance. You got to be careful with that sledge as well, because you expose yourself a little bit more than a buck when you open that floor. Mm-hmm. And you see, now the Maestro has rotated in from dirt. Feeling satisfied he contested it.
And I think that's something worth noting, is that the trade-off with a sledge, and why you often don't see sledges necessarily get C4'd as often, is
Thank you for that perfect demonstration. I almost want that clip.
That sledge's corpse right now is basically what I'm doing at the casting table.
Yeah.
Just like just face first, just face plant right
Pull in.
All right, whatever.
No, I think finish your point. I think it's perfect time to finish it.
These aren't even worth finishing at this point. No,
absolutely vital.
I was going to say, the reason why you don't always see the sledges get taken out by C4s is because teams often show a bit of reluctance because they don't know where the sledge is going to go next. Buck is usually a little bit more predictable in the sense that, he has to reload, he's going to be in a certain position, he can tear open the floor and then he has to wait. Sledge can tear open the floor a little bit faster. Also, beautifully played by Sexy Cake there. Not only is he under fire, he returns some fire, but then additionally manages to deprive the hard breach on the hatch. It's not going to do all that much though, as Team Liquid now finds themselves still in a major advantage. But they lose the hatch above them, so a little bit less security. But I think there's going to be a little bit of intimidation from Black Dragons. Nesk is killing them all. 1 for Wog and a 1v4. He's going to need an ace clutch. He finds 2. Gets Wog. That'll be the last kill. It
was impressive the 2K there with Nesk on the Vector as well, as we were talking about. You can spray through those bullets in the clip very quickly and have to reload. But he managed to pull off 2 within the same clip, I imagine, because that wasn't enough time for a reload. One of those was a nice headshot on the way down, as you saw Live drop to his death. And then one right after that. Good fight back. As you mentioned, the delay really working out in their favor, gave good time to reposition for Team Liquid to get in position to counter it because, well, they didn't necessarily get a lot of kills through the floor, but the kill on the sledge, PZD has been effective on that sledge, as you mentioned before. So getting a kill on him as well as hitting Live on the drop, I think that really made it pretty easy for Liquid to fight the rest of it. It was unfortunate the Maestro was down and just kind of leaving a snail trail of blood for a while, but they didn't really need him at that point. The rest of the players were in good position.
Well, I mean, they didn't need him, but he was instrumental in keeping that hatch closed.
Did his job.
Not only was he able to chase some people off and deal some damage with the Alda, but then additionally, the most important part was that the hatch was not taken, and it took an extra 30 seconds afterwards, if not longer, for Black Dragons to finally be able to get it open.
And they deprived them of finishing him to get the kill for their stats.
I mean, we also do need to give some credit to Black Dragons here because of the fact that they are up 2 rounds in what could potentially be a draw on a Clubhouse attack.
Absolutely.
That's pretty strong for them. I'm interested to see what Liquid is able to do on attack, but I mean, it's been impressive with Black Dragons, at least so far.
I do like to see Goyo play. It's just variety of sites, variety of different ways to use it. He's using a different weapon than we tend to see on Goyo. It's interesting.
10 seconds left.
But we'll see if it's effective this round. He's got one at the top of Cash stairs there. Very useful. It looks like they're expecting to have to fight against the Cash doorway again. And that's why you've got that shield set up somewhat the way it is. It's going to block some of the shots through the soft wall, allow him to peek through that rotate hole and fight that a little more effectively, because that's what it's been. It's been a lot of them taking over the construction connector and then just firing on in, throwing things over top of the wall. And, they're prepared for it this time. They're prepared to fight outwards like they had to in their previous success.
I get that the ACOG will likely come off of the Alda, at least right now. It is off on the TTS.
I like that.
But just
prepare for that.
But just seeing the red dot side on it looks wrong.
It feels wrong. I mean, the Hollow's fine. The Hollow's fine. You don't need the red dot. Either way, though, player preference. That's the nice thing about sites. It's player preference a lot of time. I mean, some of them do have more advantages because of housing sizes and things like that. But in general, it is a lot of player preference. And you see sometimes pros even switching over time. And then you've got classics like the Iron Sight on the MP7, which is not being run here by PSK, but it is fun to see there are a few weapons where the Iron Sight is pretty good still.
Bomb has
He's
been
just
Same iron sight as Nomad has.
Yeah.
It was the ARX, I believe it is.
I think so. Oh, is he gonna?
Oh, PSK's
wrong
in
wall.
such tough position. Not only did he miss the wall, but then additionally gets stunned out of this universe. Still gets away with his life intact, which is pretty impressive.
Same shield as last time
I do
as well.
say so.
Yeah, I mean, that is impressive. For the wall to below and him being mid-stun and still get away, that does take a lot of practice. Very often we see bandits take a lot of damage on that.
Could have even been killed with the exothermic charge. We've seen that
Super
as well.
He's demonstrated that a couple times.
Black Dragon's trying to figure out if anybody from Team Liquid is on that first floor playing in Lounge. It was something that we saw in the very first CCTV defense from them, but it was something that they learned from and changed so that Liquid didn't make that same mistake a second time. So they're sitting inside a site, and they're sitting pretty right now. They've got coverage from the Evil Eye cams, and they can just sit and wait. They don't need to give anything up. They don't need to engage. I mean, there's a minute left.
Still gotta watch out for their feet, though, on that one desk.
Very slowly, Liquid is losing the security that they have, and they know this. The problem is that some of the shields that Liquid is playing behind as well are going to be Goyo shields.
You know, we don't
Is
see
there a
Black
Claymore
Dragons-
there from Paulo? I couldn't actually tell the lasers on our screen. He gets droned out, though, so he is spotted and known. And yes, there is indeed a Claymore. I couldn't really tell. It's on the right side of the door. For us, the red was not all that visible. Wog sees him and then just goes on by. Palu downstairs. While 30 seconds is left, we are watching the off-site player smoke perfectly timed inside of that construction door, and now a passage into construction as Sexy Cake just takes a tiny bit of damage, and he's gone. Opening frag for Black Dragons with 21 seconds on the clock. There's not a lot of time for either of these teams to work with. And then we'll stare down the barrel of an engagement with Black Dragons looking to equalize. C4 gets tossed out. Right in front of Live! Two from PSK! Two for the price of one! Immediately answered back. Hornetow with one, Wog with one, Nesk with one. They're all getting in on the fun. A 2v2. Marks from Moringa. He botches it, but Black Dragons aren't able to get the diffuser down, and Liquid will win because the clock strikes 0. They'll take the first half 4-2.
Big problem I have with the attack here from Black Dragons is, as you mentioned, they're sitting behind Goyo shields, and we're not seeing that used against them. You absolutely, if you have the utility, we see grenades being brought, you have the lifelines, you know, we're seeing the stuns being used, for example, but where are the impact lifelines being used against these shields to set them on fire? You would push them off so many of their positions that they're able to play safely because they go, hey, we're boxed in here, what can we do? I don't know, let's stick up a bunch of shields. Yeah, they can explode on us, but hey, Black Dragons isn't going to use that against us. Guess what? It's true. While that did come a lot closer than Liquid would have liked, they started losing a lot of fights towards the end. But time. That's the thing, is those shields buy them time. And Black Dragons did not take advantage of that. They should be. Clear those ADSs early. Start hucking grenades over. You don't have to go for kills. Because when you huck the grenades over, if you know the position of those shields, and you can get the grenades in the right position, and they don't have ADSs for it, they can't do anything about it. They can move away so you don't get the kill. But now you've denied them their ability to defend themselves in that room, and they also probably can't re-enter it if it was near a doorway.
Yeah.
So either way, we will see side switch though. We'll see how Black Dragons does it. Also bring in a Goyle, again for Church. So we're gonna see a lot of Goyle today, at least from this matchup.
I'm kind of surprised that Black Dragons weren't able to work faster after they got that main wall open.
Yeah.
I mean, they were much more successful, and there wasn't really that much of a change from Team Liquid. You know, you had somebody from Black Dragons watching Garage, and you have to be wary of the fact that there's somebody from Liquid playing there. Of course, it's Palu. You can't do that anymore, by the way.
He's gonna.
You can't do that anymore.
He just gives up. He's like, I got other things to do.
So first and foremost, I'm pretty sure that's not intended, because the similar thing exists with a table on bank. There's like this little small, like, tiny end table.
I felt like I was watching a.
It's at the top of like main stairs across from the double door to to conference, and if you try to throw it down below, it ends up like on the wall above it.
I was half expecting to watch some coconut bra bounce trick or something.
I imagine that it's unintended, but I mean, we're not devs, we don't know. But
No.
it certainly seems like that
certainly didn't work for live. That's the important thing.
That would have been a great vantage point for him had it actually been
I don't
out there.
think that camera's gonna be long for this world.
No, that's a great Semler line, by the way. Hell of a caster, great guy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is a great spot we've seen used many times by Jaegers to counter people playing at the top here. And then, of course, he's going to place the Claymore in a safer spot to deny any kind of rotate up and just bail. That shield, however, can't be used against you. I have seen, for example, Zofia counter it by taking even more of a pixel angle where he can't be shot and hit the shield. It is doable. But if there's an ADS, they're even more problematic. And he could, of course, place an ADS there, and then if they don't bother to engage it, can just pick it up and move it elsewhere inside blue. So it is a good way to be able to counter any kind of oil pit push. You also see one in Dirt Tunnel I was talking about earlier, live with a nice C4, takes out their Thatcher. There is a Kaeda in play, so could be very important here in terms of trying to get hatch open as Mavericks banned. But it looks like they're going to be able to get open. No, they failed to do so. They get part of the hatch open here. And then Lagonis is able to just shoot part of the next Kairos off. And it looks like they managed to eventually get the hatch, I think. It was hard to see from that angle.
It certainly seems like it. That's why Lagonis would likely move out of the way, I would guess, at least. But Black Dragons did get the very first pick onto Moringa, so he'll sit on the bench, as was noted. And now, as well, a rotate from Sexy Cake over to Dirt Tunnel, because as a Thermite, you're going to want to get that dirt panel opened up. Palu waiting to see if the ADS is burned out. It falls onto the feet of Lagonis as a frag grenade goes down, and the Goyo still manages to survive for now.
Yeah, there's really minimal damage for a grenade being that close. But there we go, the power of that shield in Dirt Tunnel. Now it can abandon it, and they're going to be really wary of pushing dirt.
Not a smart play by Palu in that particular situation, because you know that somebody's going to be playing behind it. You can see through the slats in the shield. So Liquid now in a tough position. Even though they take down the Valkyrie, they'll lose an Esk, and it's a 2v4 for Liquid, with the best chance that Black Dragons has had over the last couple rounds to be able to take one away. It's going to be a double drop into some Toxic Canister, and Sexy Cake will watch PSK die in front of him, but there's not much that the Fragmite can do, especially when he's got the pistol out. He'll surrender the diffuser as his body hits the floor, and it's the third round for Black Dragons.
I'd love to see stats on how often dropping an Arsenal actually works with a huge man advantage. It's such a death trap, because you cannot move while dropping. You drop straight down like a rock. They know where you're going to be. They're going to have angles from Church. They're going to have angles from other positions in Arsenal. They might even be in dirt. Not a lot you can do. You just have to hope to win your fights. They were hoping, I think, at that point that the smoke was going to cover some of their drop. But I think it might have been a little late into it. You see how thin it was up at the top?
Yeah.
It's very likely they just saw their bodies falling down and turned them into corpses very quickly.
Thinner than most 40-year-old men's hairlines.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Luckily, I think mine is good for now.
Your hairline is holding real steady. And that
Oddly enough, this huge gap in my hairline happened when I was 20. Stop there.
Really?
Let's just keep it at that.
I mean, like,
Stop
I've got like a little bit of like the recession, like
recession, the 2008
Yeah, I got the 2008 going on right now. At least it's more of like a 2008 and not like a 1920s.
Oh yeah,
deal. You know,
let's keep it that way.
I don't want that recession to turn into a
Great
depression.
recession.
Yeah, that's something else. But no, that was one of the things where it's like, if we could just talk about this for a second while we're waiting and we're watching the setup from above and a beautiful bird's eye view here for everybody to enjoy, is that my hairline, when I got my head shaved, I was actually quite content with getting it shaved because it would allow me to assess if I was losing my hair anywhere. And
full diagnostic.
Thankfully, they're not really worried about thinning all that much. It's pretty strong. It's a strong hairline, so I'm very happy with that. So thank you. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Thanks, genetics.
Big ups.
Big ups to them.
Yeah.
I, like most men, I would imagine, terrified at the idea of losing my hair. So,
luckily, I don't have.
Petrified.
I think all my grandparents had their hair, so I'm like, okay. They just gave me diabetes. Is all.
Maybe the same.
So I'm not sure if the trade-off is worth it, but I'll try to keep my hair while I can.
Yeah.
You know.
I literally do know. So there you go. The diabetic duo,
right?
As we refer to ourselves. Anyway, round number 8 underway. Black Dragons on their second crack at defense, and instead of going to cache CCTV like a lot of teams do in the first
Look at those
efforts,
just
it's going to be over on Jim Bedroom.
I think that's 4 shields in.
There's a Goyo. There's a lot of deployable shields up, and once again, you're going to have to hurdle over top of them like an Olympic team.
I feel like a well-placed grenade could take out like 2 of them at once, at least. They're so stacked up in there. Looks like it's taken a while for them to get this wall open, though.
It's not going to be a bandit in this position. It's going to be a Kaid, and he's not going to try the Electric Claw.
But he had a spare.
He had a spare, but if you know there is a Thatcher on the board, you'll toss it and he'll get EMP'd right away. So I think that the idea is that WOG is going to keep it for somewhere else.
For bathroom wall, possibly.
Could be for bathroom wall. You could impact trick and then throw an Electric Claw out.
Why not burn all the resources?
I imagine that's what they'd want to do. So
that seems like the plan here. You see WAG in basically a position to be able to do that from a distance, a safe position, assuming the windows don't turn against him. But you've got the impacts first, and that's the nice thing is backing that up. You are going to see TZSG here coming out from Black Dragon's side as opposed to the Vector, which is more common. But it was nice to see Nesk able to rock the Vector. Basically, there's no wrong choice for his gun. I mean, both are good, so.
Yeah.
We're going to see at least some smokes to push them back as well. So they're pushing back, I think, a little bit more effectively than Liquid did on this site.
There's an Evil Eye cam all the way over towards Cash CCTV.
Infinite range.
And even though there's an ACOG for now, it's not going to be very handy on that Alda as the Maestro losing the fight to Sexy Cake. And that'll be your first pick. Liquid getting it this time and opening things up with a minute left.
Funny thing is, I think you could put a Evil Eye on where the black flag is on the top of main stairs and shoot people in construction site spawn.
Oh no, that is not a wise move from Lagonis, who looks on out and tries to shoot out the feed of Palu, but the C8 is too much for him to handle. PZD might turn the wrong way with multiple shields around him, and if one of those volcanic shields blows up, he is in for a world of hurt. Black Dragon still has some people off site though, and that's going to be an issue given that it is a 5v3, but Liquid is low enough that just a couple bullets can be the undoing of those members. Ness goes down to a team kill from Sexy Cake, but then Hornetow gets felled, and Wog will collect his kill before almost certain death. A 1v3, he'll get shot through Logistics wall, and that's all she wrote for Black Dragons. Another round for Liquid, 5-3.
I felt like the first minute and a half of that 2 minutes looked pretty good for Black Dragons. They were doing a good pushback, but it seems like they lost too much ground very quickly in the last minute. A lot of players starting to drop, and as you said, too many of them off-site to really push back at that point. It wasn't necessarily a huge flank, but he did get flanked from the Cash side as well, and that made it even harder for him to try and get in good clutch position. Those shields was stacked on the bed and the one next to it that PZD was playing. I thought that was a good setup in terms of his ability. You saw him rotate to different angles, and his ability to do that without being shot from a flank. It's not guaranteed, but it's a nice idea, and it seemed to help a little bit. But it's just, once that hot tub wall falls, there's a reason why Gym's the third bomb site. Sometimes I wonder, especially if in Latin America, they might be better off going to bar. Because in Latin America, it has been done. We've seen it been done by Ints. We've seen it been done by Team 1. It is doable, especially now with Goyo to give you a little bit extra. But it's risky. But I feel like if any region might consider that over Gym with the way we've seen Gym played so far, might be worth an idea. Either way, we're going to see them smartly go to Cash instead. But hey, they're 1 for 2 here on their 2 defenses, and this is a defense-sided map here. So they're not in the worst position. However, that was not the best choice to go to Gym next.
Yeah, hindsight gives us a lot of advantages as a caster, and I mean, we as casters, we kind of have to give an acknowledgement to that. But at the same time, I feel like there was some tension in our voice when we were discussing it at the onset of that round. I mean, there were a couple issues that were made by Black Dragons, and I honestly don't know if the site was really the deal. Number one, live on his belly, slow as a Maestro, trying to dry peek the CCTV wall. Doesn't really matter if you're playing on CCTV or not, that's going to end with you dying. Number two, the fact that you saw Lagonis try to take a fight that he shouldn't be taking. I don't know if he was thinking that he was going to swing on somebody over towards the gym door. I don't know if he even knew that Palu was in such close proximity.
Could have even been bad call-outs.
It could have been a bad call-out, but those 2 picks right there, I don't necessarily think are on the site, but I mean, the site itself, you know that when you lose Gym and Bedroom, as we saw from Liquid on their defenses, when you lose Gym and Bedroom, you lose it very quickly, and retaking it is exceptionally tough.
And you're pushed into areas where there's most likely to be attackers able to flank you pretty easily.
Yeah, you think about it. You've got to keep control of Logistics office. You've got the windows there that you have to worry about. There is play that can be done verticality-wise with the buck down below if he really wants to. So there's a lot that can be a significant issue that, you know, maybe Black Dragons didn't account for. Trying to bandit trick, but stunned out of it. Hornetow is going to get nowhere fast, and he'll have to retreat to the top of red as that wall in the CCTV opened up successfully by Team Liquid. Sexy Cake is on this red dot crusade, and he manages to take out the Maestro cam as well. It takes a couple bullets, but that's another piece of this defense from Black Dragons that has now been figured out by Liquid.
Fairly quickly, they got that wall open there as well. And that was a good demonstration of how the Zofia stunning works. You saw him in the middle of the animation. When he went to get stunned, and it's similar to the way Echo works on stopping diffuses, the way it stops an animation mid-animation, and it's a quirk of the game that's been used, and, well, it makes for a nice dynamic, but it is definitely something that players figure out and they use. Becomes a thing, and that is very much a thing for that wall in particular. It is unfortunate that Bandits just struggle with that wall, but I do like to see these fallback shields. We saw this from Liquid as well, playing to that fallback shield, so they can still deny the wall somewhat in terms of entry. But then this is where Liquid just starts to surround them, basically circling the wagons around Black Dragons, who are going to be looking to do similar to what Liquid did, which is to fight back as soon as things start getting open. But the fact that it's only a minute left and no one has taken any damage here does bode well for Black Dragons, and that if they can burn enough time and delay this push, while they're sitting here droning, because PZD actually gave his position away with the C4, but actually was effective as a distraction. Now suddenly they're concerned with him when they've only got less than 40 seconds left to make this happen.
There's going to go the impacts, and it looks like they might have gotten the X Kairos as a frag grenade goes off, but it's a little too late as nobody from Black Dragons really takes any damage. Meanwhile, you can't say the same for Team Liquid with 30 seconds left. They'll ride out the storm as they lose some of the wall in construction. PZD playing down below, losing the fight to Palu. That's a very common refrain if you see what he can do on that buck. Live fires back, this time onto Moringa. Seeks shelter with the volcanic shield in front of him, and now Wog is in a very similar position. Sexy Kate going for some feet, spraying into cash. Palu's there for kill number 2. Denied number 3, but Liquid trade off. Team Liquid come alive with PSK and Palu getting the very final kills in its match point, and a big single point on the board. Well, for Liquid, they cannot lose this match. They can only draw. They are 1 point behind Ints, and even though Ints does have that tiebreaker, Liquid can vault over them with one more round of the remaining 3.
Sorry, Verdi. We just didn't have it this time.
Did you and Verdi say Black Dragons?
Yeah.
Foolish.
You know, I didn't know Verdi voted for that first. You know, otherwise
so
I would have
chosen
known.
Dev.
Yeah. Either
He's
way,
in second place. You can't.
It's true.
It's not like this man's just throwing.
I'm gonna get Flynn to leak his picks to me.
It's just he's throwing Hail Marys, and you got to think about it. Flynn's hiding some secrets under those hoodies.
He really is.
I'm being honest with you.
I don't know how many layers of hoodies. It's like one of those crazy Taco Bell burrito things. It's just 200 layers at this point, but it's in there. Church here for what could be their final prayer to try and keep this going, because the most they can get, as you said, is 1 point. With Liquid now in the driver's seat. Yes, attack is harder, but Liquid have shown they can do it.
Living their life 1/4 mile at a time, as the great Devin Emzo Becker would say.
Yeah.
To Brad Remorse, Bradley Hickenlooper, the third Hickey, Bradford.
I miss the Remorse interviews.
He's still coaching Challenger League, I think.
Well, that doesn't really help me, does it?
So funny story, actually, involving Remorse. Just a second here as we watch once again the setup unfold in front of us on the Church defense. It could be Liquid's very last defense, by the way. Matches on the line for them. We were doing some qualifier casting. I think it was the Raleigh Major. We were doing some qualifier casting, and Remorse was streaming, and I was like, oh, I'll go host him. We got 2,000 some odd people watching. He's playing Rainbow Six. Let's go give him a host. He had actually just changed over to playing some like sim racing game, so it literally we host him, and it's literally a camera, but it's a camera from like the back of the room, and he's like down on his knees, like trying to plug in a racing wheel, and it's like. There's 2,000 people watching Remorse try to configure a racing wheel, and because he's not paying attention, he doesn't have like his audio settings on. He has no idea. He thinks that there's just like the 30 people that were watching him before, and that's it. And he's got 2,000 people. Talk about embarrassing. This is okay.
Speaking of which,
that is PZD.
Good read on that.
It's very common for teams to take through CCTV upstairs, and they will do just that. And Ness gets scared off by the Jaeger of PZD. These two have known each other for a while. They've both been in the competitive scene for Rainbow Six in Latin America for eternity.
It was a good play there. It did delay him a little bit. I mean, burning up a breach charge isn't going to do a whole lot, especially when you've got a buck available. It's not really going to, oh no, now they can't open up the floor. But it did delay a few seconds, I suppose, and scared him, like you said. So he had to be a little more cautious on his approach. And the fact that PZD got away without taking any damage, that's really what matters there. So they can get back down to sight and push back. PZD actually down playing in blue, which is very, very typical for a Jaeger, but he's actually playing an unconventional position across from Generator instead of behind it, hoping that will catch them by surprise. They're going to try and play it safe here on this floor as we saw what kind of damage was done against them, and that's going to be the C4 gone. Lagunas pre-placing it, really working against them, unfortunately, as he was hoping to catch them on advantage by the fact that there wasn't the floor open to give them a sound indicator. Yeah, that's really tough for Black Dragons, and those are some big mistakes that can be capitalized upon by Liquid here, which would allow Liquid to then take the rest of this matchup. You had to anticipate with Electric Claw there, they were going to Thatcher it. That was not a smart play. Both teams have been running a Thatcher regularly. He is one of the most banned attackers in all of Latin America. Teams, for the most part, seem to know how to play around a Thatcher ban, but in this case, well, they don't really need him. Nessa's going to take out Live, so say goodbye to the Legion. That's a key for Liquid, and they can snowball from here. A minute left. Pretty decent timing as well for a Church execute. But if Wog can nail this C4, then Sexy Cake will almost certainly be dead. C4 still in hand for the Kaid, just waiting very patiently for the call to emerge from his team. I like when you see the exact angle in place, you can practice that yourself. Stunned is Wog, and he tosses out the C4, but it does not connect with anything at all. And the wall gets opened up, which makes Hornetow come on in with his shotgun in hand. Somehow Sexy Cake evading damage. Hornetow taken down from PSK, and Liquid look all but set to lock this one out as it now becomes a 2v5.
but Lagonis will have something to say about it. He finds one kill. Will he find yet another? He finds a second. On to Palu, but this match is all but over unless we can see some miracle here. No utility for Lagonis, just a Vector in hand. And he's got the marathon mile in front of him as the diffuser goes down, and an objective makes it even harder for Lagonis. Not to envy the newest member onto Black Dragons. He's unable to make it through the rotate that was designed for easier access, and he's watching the clock bleed away. It's not going to get much farther, though, because Team Liquid will get the very final kill. Nesk, in fact, Nesk, the man, the myth, the legend. 3 points for Liquid. They'll take the match against Black Dragons.
Just too many misplays there from Black Dragons at the end of that. You've got, first off, the C4 pre-placed when it was unnecessarily pre-placed. You have the Electric Claw, they're going to Thatcher. There's no Maverick, they have to Thatcher. So you know that's going to be lost, unfortunately. Probably already placed the C4 first, can't exactly jump high enough to grab it back down, so just a bit of a misplay. The Electric Claw might have come up after. But then the missed C4 as well from the Kaid, that really cost them, because that could have been what stopped the push dead in its tracks. As you mentioned, that was going to be a big thing. That was going to be at least